they're like, oh, the football player. I'm like, actually, no.
Dude, come on. I got a fame story for you.
Heck yeah.
My daughter was getting her teeth worked on at the orthodontist, and her last name McAllister, of course. And McAllister, oh, is your dad that motivational speaker? I was like, I have no idea. But yeah, it's funny how people get that in their heads. Well, for a long time, the most searched thing on my blog that was the most traffic to my blog, because I had a blog in 2008. That's when I started it. And anyway, Chris McAllister's truck, which of course the NFL player had that big nasty truck. And
funny, man. You'll take it.
Yeah, it got traffic. It got traffic. So I posted about it.
Awesome.
You posted a picture of your truck?
I should have done that. Here's Chris McAllister's real truck. And at that time, it would have been my neighbor's truck that I borrowed.
Right.
So we're going to create some traffic for the real Chris McAllister.
There it is.
Outstanding. I'm going to jump in. Hey, gang, thank you for joining us. This is James Rory's, and you are listening to Breaking Brains, Building Hearts with Chris McAllister and Bret Burchard. And we come to you live every week to talk about topics designed to help you think more expansively and grow in your connectedness to the folks that you lead in your everyday life. And we're talking
for me to take energy from people.
And Chris needs energy today, so we're going to give it to him. So let's talk about it, guys. What's been happening this week? What's on your mind?
I want to ask Chris, if you're low on energy, where, other than from us, where do you normally get it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say low. What I would say is, and we're live, and this is going to be a podcast, so I want to be sensitive, but dang it, the best stuff you can't put in the books or the podcasts. But a family situation and a visit, and just feeling a little bit drawn out from that. And coming to this chat, I've been deep in the cave, wrestling the demons, and it's been amazing. But there's something that shifts for me energetically, knowing I'm coming onto this show, knowing I'm going to hang with you guys. It immediately is like it's an electrical charge, because I'm right in the middle on the EI. So it's not low energy and I need to take energy to get up. It is more of, this feeds me in a different way, and it gives me just this electrical impulse. And I'm
kind of I guess I'm hearing like a shifting of energy, where it may have been where you had to give a lot, and this to create energy for the group, or maybe lead more.
Yep.
And now it's a shifting of energy where this fills you up more than it drains you.
Yeah, the cave can take out of me and fill me up. This can take out of me and fill me up. It just depends on kind of like the makeup of the week and the rhythm.
Yeah.
And not having enough playful, goofy space with close friends, because that's an essential part of life.
Yeah.
Jimmy, where do you go to get energy to get filled up?
That's a great question. I was actually just talking with a client before our show.
We got to tell a story now.
We got to tell. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can I tell a story and rudely interrupt you, Jimmy? And then you pick it right back
Jimmy, up? Inside joke that we have to share now.
Well, I think we did tell at one point, but because we kind of rebooted this, and this is now episode 2, people won't get our laughter on that idea. But there was a guy that I was in a meeting with that said to me, or I said to him, "That's a great question." And I meant it authentically. And he goes, "I only ask great questions." It was so like challenging, accosting, just the dynamic of that exchange, that no kidding, not in a stubborn, forceful way, but in a way of like, I don't have to cede to this weirdness. He asked other questions after that. And I said, "I'm saying to you, that's a great question. I mean it." Well, so then what it became is when people say, "Hey, that's a great question," I'm like, "I only ask great questions."
Yeah, man. Deep in thought. Deep and thoughtful question.
So took you off track.
Sorry.
No, I think anybody listening would have the same kind of question, right? What do folks who guide others through their journeys to change and to mastery? How do they deal with the same issues everybody deals with? And I was just being very honest with this person who I was talking with about the decision I made 20 years ago to work from home and to craft my life around being closer to my family. And the gift that having breakfast and dinner with my girls as they were growing up, what kind of gift that was. And, it's been some time, and my oldest is turning 20 in February. And, it was just wonderful to reflect on that. So I think that was a great question because it was, for me, it was a timely question.
It was, and it takes me to this weekend, because part of this weekend that was really cool. We had a birthday party for my 18-year-old. It was outdoors, and you had them separated and the whole thing. But super fun to like try to make the best of a challenging situation and see, what has come about in her life. And it's that same thing of making that choice to be present and to be there. Like, I knew the people that were here, a bunch of them. I know her friends. And that connection, man, that is energy. What about for you, Bret?
Cool. For me, I noticed a drastic change in how I approach my days and structure my calendars and structure my weeks when I started evaluating my day based on not how much I got done or task lists or checklists, but just on energy. Like, started paying attention to what energized me, what didn't energize me. And not that you can fill your whole day with only things that energize you. Like, you also have to spend energy, and there's times where you got to step into things that, you maybe don't want to do or will be taxing. But I've found an increase in performance in my own life, just noticing, okay, these are the things that are going to take energy from me. These are the things that are going to give energy or energize me. And being able to structure kind of your life around those things. For me, like being outside, being active, hiking, mountain biking, been playing tennis and sand volleyball, and just all those kind of things are really like light me up. They activate my brain and make me curious and get me really excited. And then when I go and you try to spend a ton of time with people or teaching or, trying to be social or small talk, things like that, those kind of things will tend to steal energy. So you try not to stack a bunch of those up together. I also learned how to schedule my week where I just like Mondays are just, my wife asked me all the time, how was Monday? I was like, it's weed hacking day. Like, I just know I'm going to stack up all the stuff that I just got to hack away at. And it's not going to be energizing or a lot of fun, but that's the day for it. And then the rest of the week is energizing. So it's interesting if you start paying attention to energy and how that, how you kind of organize your life around that more than just like task lists and goals and stuff.
How about you, Chris?
I would say it energizes me to walk in and see my wife painting our house. With all things life, not wanting to have a painter come in or whatever, she was like, I'm just going to have to do this. I think for me, it's been an unfolding evolution for a number of years, paying attention to the energy with task, flow, and schedule. Where I'm finding a lot of help right now is really paying attention to it with decision making also, because I tend to be a person who gets the idea and then gets inspired. And then I evolve the idea or I sleep on the idea, and I find a lot of the ideas aren't good. You don't know till you try them and you launch things and you put the stuff out there. But really at a more of the beginning level, when that thought, is just forming. It's that inception point, and honesty about the energy of, is this how I actually want to do this? You know, both of you know I'm working on a current like positioning thing that's an experiment that's really fun. And I was like, okay, I'm really inspired to do this launch with it and do it big. And I was like, wait a second, that's not what I want. Cause I don't, you know, my dad asked me recently, he's like, what do you want to be known for? And it just came out. I was like, I don't want to be known. I want our certified coaches to be known. So what's it like for me to do this launch of this change in a very small way, limited to 20 people? Only 20 people can come in, test it out there, then make the bigger changes that are to the website and to the, you know, all the parts and pieces. You still have to make that application, but energetically, like, yeah. And that took me back to even launching this work, you know, 2009 and 10. I wanted to like rent this giant theater downtown, 500 seats, push hard, do the big event. Right. And it was a coach that was like, what if you did it in a cabin instead? You know, and I was getting coaching from him how to launch the big, but how I was showing up to him was more of that. And that was a key moment and so huge. And so I think for me right now, just learning to pay attention to the energy of the decision, because everyone's figuring it out as they go.
Right.
And the more we can be true to that, who we are, you know, at least my experience has been, I'm going to get to a more effective iteration sooner. And I have circled plenty of cul-de-sacs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So many. Well, go ahead, Jimmy, you're gonna say something? No,
I just think, you know, whenever I hear you guys talk, and I get a chance to think, it brings me to moments of clarity that have occurred recently for me. And the two of you, right? So Bret thinking about just taking a look inside and thinking about what is working and what isn't, what brings energy, what doesn't. And then comments you had made, Chris. Recently, when I was investigating why I was not as energized to get up and do the things that I was doing, I found that in my quest, Chris, to your point, to learn, to advance, to evolve, what I found myself doing was looking at other people's successes and what they were achieving, what they were doing, how they were doing it. And instead of using that as inspiration, I was trying to copy what they were doing or replicate what they were doing and using their expression of what they were achieving as my guide. And I was wondering why it wasn't as motivating for me. And the decision I came to, which I never had to really consciously come to before, was you got to do your own thing, right? You've got to, you know, what's true for you instead of learning these new skills and using other people's successes as your benchmark. And it was a conscious focus or refocusing on that thought, and that provided me a ton of energy and purpose, and put me right back into flow and right back where I was used to being. So it's interesting to me that we oftentimes have to learn the same lessons over and over again, but it's also interesting that you know, that I can now revisit that kind of a experience, that kind of inspiration through a conversation like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, did you grab something, Bret? I don't want to interrupt if you're going to say.
Yeah, it led me to a passage from our book.
Oh,
shameless self-promotion, but this is such a key thing for me, and I'm going to read it because I like how we wrote it. But
I'm going to put my head down. Can this be book time, like when we were elementary?
Yeah, right. Let me read you a story. But it was a story from when I was in college playing basketball, and for 4 years, I guess 3 years, I dominated preseason conditioning. I won every race. Long distance, we were on the track. We were doing miles, 2 miles, 100-meter sprints, 200-meter sprints. It was, and I won every race for 3 years. Well, going into my senior year, we recruited a guy out of high school who was a state champion at cross country. And the whole team, as soon as he signed, the whole team said, "You're done. Like your records on the track and preseason conditioning are over." And I was like, all right, well, we'll see. And the first mile run of the year, we went out on the track, and he set the pace. I mean, my strategy was I'm just going to stay like one step behind him and try to keep up and see if I can make a push for it at the very end. And by the third lap, the guy's like shaking out his arms like he's, jogging with a dog in the park. And I'm like just dying to keep up. The pace is just faster than anything I've run before. But I had a marker in the last straightaway. It's like, if I'm within 3 steps of him at that marker, I'm going to win the race. And I hit the marker, and I just all out sprint for the last 100 yards. And I passed him and won the mile race. And the cool thing about the story is not that I beat a cross country champ, but it made me run the fastest mile I'd ever run in my life. It like set a standard there that pushed me beyond my limits. And the idea was this: is don't get distracted by comparison. Like, comparison can deform you. Competition can grow you. But getting distracted by comparison, I just want to read it from the book. You said, the beauty of the story is not in the conquering of an opponent. The real success that I ran the fastest mile of my life, 4:55. Never before, never again. Competition pushed me to perform my best, not comparison. Comparison is thinking you need to run the race exactly like others do. Competition is running your best race versus their best race. Comparison is trying to always stay one step ahead of your competitors. Competition is creating a strategy that you can win. Comparison is training the same way others do. Competition is finding your optimal training practices to push yourself past previous limits. Comparison distracts, competition drives focus. Comparison shames, competition sharpens. Only one wins in comparison. Both can win in competition. And it just struck me there when you were talking about that, Jimmy.
Right.
We can get caught up in comparing our journey to others. It just happened to me this morning. Someone, had a huge success in their career, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, he's not better than me. He's not smarter than me. He hasn't worked harder than me. He hasn't treated people nicer than me. How is he winning and I'm losing? And it's you're distracted by comparison. Like,
right.
when you get on that pathway, it's going to deform you more than it's going to help you grow.
Straight fire, man. I have learned and lived this so deep to almost near perfection. And I need to tell you a story about a time I ran a mile for 4:45. No, it's the comparison that drains energy. And
right.
I had an insight regarding this. Well, I'll tell you where. I hit the restroom real quick before I came to set up the camera for our chat, because it's an unconscious behavior, right? And that's where these little insights pop in. But I have a webinar at 4 that was supposed to move to February. We were supposed to move the launch of a program, and people are already signed up. And now in my mind, I wasn't going to do it, but now I need to do it. Mm-hmm. Now I could cancel it and leave people abandoned, but energetically I've moved on from it. I'm not excited about it. Yet there's a potential to maybe sell some there. And it was like, whoa, money's just a construct. It's made up. I'm not really motivated by money. Money matters. I don't want to make it sound like that. Of course it matters. Time is a construct. Romans made up hours. Monks made up minutes. What isn't made up is energy. Where we are, how we're showing up, what's coming through us. Now, because I believe that we're transformed through our commitment, I'll be there, ready to rock and roll, give it my best, and something good will show up in me as a result of that. I'll be formed and made better for it. And it always feels good to win too. And little surprises can show up. But this energy thing is just so huge. Jimmy?
No, I'm loving it, because so often when we're competing, when we're pursuing a goal or a dream, we are gauging ourselves against the plan that we set in place. We're constantly looking at how we're doing compared to either what we had set out or planned or compared to other people. I mean, the comparison thing is something that is born into us practically by our society and how we grow. I've seen it in my kids over the last 20 years, and it's just something you have to work through. But what's great is this idea of it's one step to move away from money as a motivator or as a construct that guides our life. It's another thing to move away from time. There is such, I used to believe that I was evolved as an executive when I moved from being motivated by money to being moved by time and being efficient with my time. But all I really did was trade one construct, one prison cell for another. Are you optimizing your time? It became as obsessive and as crazy as, are you maximizing your net worth? Are you making max dollar? Are you leaving money on the table? It became as obsessive. And, what gives me energy is relieving myself of those constructs, unlike you did when you were before the show, but relieving myself of those constructs to give me that freedom. Now, of course, we live in a world that we have to live in. These things matter, but are they things that we have to accept and give ourselves to and use to motivate us, to drive us every day? The answer is absolutely no. And it's amazing feeling.
They serve us rather than we serve them.
Right. Well said.
And that for me is like, when I make those shifts, and I can lose my way in this. I mean, the way I think about maturity, it's not that we never lose our way in this. It's just how quick we recognize it and come back to that center. But when I lose my way in this, that's when I start suffocating under comparison, like you were talking about, Bret. And I start to, I stop imagining possibilities. I stop believing in what's possible. My 14-year-old saw me. We watched a movie this weekend, La La Land, together. I hadn't seen it, and they had seen it. They were like, "Dad, we promise you'll like it." I was like, seems terrible. This is awesome. But at one point, I pulled out my phone on my little idea capturer, and I just typed to myself, "Don't quit too soon," because there's a theme there in the movie about that. And so my 14-year-old sees this. When I am not suffocated under comparison, I might be facing a challenge. I might be suffering, which I'm currently in a moment of trying to rework something massive, and it's not working yet doesn't mean it'll never work. And you're just making all these changes, and it's like, Chris, don't quit too soon. And once you're in that space of don't quit too soon, you're imagining new possibilities. You're not suffocating under comparison. You're not stressed because you stopped a little bit early on Friday, because you don't think about your life the same. And that's the thing that's so hard to talk to people about when they're in this hamster wheel of, I got to work 4 jobs. I can't buy a latte, the money management. They're focused on that. They're not focused on growing their income or productivity, where it's like the hamster wheel of a million points of exhaustion to manage. You're not nimble. You can't react. You can't maximize opportunities. And I think this is why a lot of people today are rejecting even, more typical confines of work, because they're like, screw that. I don't want that. I don't want that life. I want to live a life. Mm-hmm. Soren Kierkegaard, it's an awesome quote. I'm going to mess it up, but life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Mm-hmm. And comparison and time, obsession with time and obsession with all these measurements take away that relaxation, that cooperation with what's unfolding. So I love how you said that, Jimmy. It's like when you take that off yourself, there's that freedom, Yeah. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
So freaking.
It's great. I see the evolution for a lot of people where you start out and you're just like, I got to work harder than everybody else. And everything's judged on how hard you're going to work. And then And then you reach a point, you're like, all right, I just got to be more efficient in everything I do. And you're trying to maximize efficiency. And then you reach a point there where you transcend both of those. We're going to work smarter, not harder, and pay attention to energy and more than time scales and money scales. And it's kind of the growth and evolution. I've always thought, okay, how can I get to that third evolution quicker?
Right.
But
yeah.
I mean, I see this with like self-awareness and growth circles. How can I get to enlightenment, right? And I forget who it was, and it's so good, but enlightenment and blindness is in every moment for all of us. Whatever prison you wake up from today and you set yourself free from and you walk out of it,
right?
There's another one that shows up tomorrow or 6 months or 9 months or whatever. And when I'm obsessed with trying to always get out of these prisons, that's why for me, it's these ancient poems that were like, can you enjoy your work, eat, drink, be merry? There's a simplicity, there's a wisdom to that on the other side of this complexity. And you can see where people start out simple, maybe don't ever wrestle with these things. They get into those complexities and they start thinking about time and energy and ancient Buddhist poems from the 12th century or ancient letters from the 1st century and crazy things they say about time takes us back to a simplicity of quantum physics. We can't explain consciousness. The brain is mysterious. At a simple level, can you enjoy the work you do? Can you eat? Can you drink? Can you be merry? I grilled last night.
I got the text.
Yeah, I bragged about it. I got in a habit of quarantine texting Jimmy pictures of dinner. And
it's always after I eat, so it's like I could have had
that. But it was a big treat myself moment. I mean, like I quit a little bit early, went to the grocery store, splurged, and it was awesome. It was so much fun.
Well, I'll tell you,
perfect experience.
And it's a bummer for me because I grew up in the restaurant biz, and as a kid, my parents they entertained all the time. I mean, massive, crazy parties, all kinds of food, neighbors, friends, everywhere, and so that kind of socializing. Talk about giving energy. That kind of socializing is such a huge part of the way I was raised. Somebody sends me a text of their grill. I'm in my car, right? I grab a bottle of wine. I'm in my car. I'm there in 5 minutes, maybe with 2 or 3 speeding tickets, but who gives a shit? I'm there. Let's have fun, and now to not be able to do that, it's wild. It takes getting used to.
Yeah.
When we know some people aren't stopping.
Right.
But yeah, it is. And that's where, like, even in our family, all the different things that energize them may not energize me. Even like we're talking about social commitments, and when my wife doesn't have stuff on the calendar, now she's like, it's all different. I'm curious, Bret, just for you and Taylor, what's the rhythm like? Are you, because you shared about yourself, is she more like, let's go hang out with people?
No, I mean, we both live life at a similar pace, and it's like exact opposite of what you just described, Jimmy. It's like none of the shutdowns or anything. I can't say none of it has affected us, but it hasn't impacted the things we like to do anyway, because we're not going out and we're going to a mountain and finding the most secluded place, and we'll go camping and avoid the campsites because there's too many people there. And,
right.
Find the spot in the woods that no one else can find. And so, yeah, we're always trying to socially distance.
A mode of operation before it was necessary.
Exactly.
Well, I'd be curious how you guys would encourage people to start, if they're going to start a journey of like learning who they are apart from time and money, paying attention to energy. What's like simple stuff that you guys would put in front of people to take these 1 or 2 steps?
I think of 2 things for me. One is just start noticing energy head of like what you have to get done or the pressure you feel to be involved in whatever community or group or activity that's on, like just start noticing energy. How does it make me feel? How does it make me feel to wake up at this time of day or that time of day, or go to bed, or what I do before bed, or, the things that energize you, the things that steal energy from you or drain you. Just start taking a note of that and a catalog of that. Just awareness of all that, you'll start organizing your days around those things. Like I said, you're not going to eliminate everything that drains energy from you, because you do need to give out energy sometimes as well. But start being aware of those. And then the second thing I would say is give yourself permission to take care of yourself. Don't feel the shame, like if you're going to take off early on Friday and go cook out. It's okay. Like, obviously there's standards at work some people have to, abide by, but give yourself permission to sleep in on a Saturday, or, to do something that fills you up. There's no shame in that. And so, paying attention to what's energizing you, what's draining you, and then go ahead and take care of yourself. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. It reminds me, Bret, that reminds me, I share this often. It's not something I keep secret, but I had a life coach for about 10 years during the time that I made my transition away from the traditional workforce. And the reason I bring it up is that your comment reminds me of what I was taught by my coach. One of the first things, and said another way, Bret, he talked about this idea of taking notice of not so much energy at that point, but the things that I tolerate. So tolerations, like, manic and crazy family get-togethers, right? That we all put up with. All the things that are part of our lives because they should be. What are we tolerating? And what that caused for me was, it caused me to look at life differently, right? It gave me agency over those things that I was tolerating, that I thought was just, that I never really gave thought to, but just lamented and didn't like, didn't enjoy. And then coupled with that is the second thing you talked about, Bret, which is this idea, if I'm identifying things I tolerate, then what would you replace them with? And that gives you now agency to think about the things that bring you joy. And the challenge where the coaching comes in is actually when you've spent half a lifetime denying yourself the things that bring you joy and tolerating the things that don't. How do you elevate your equilibrium to a point where you can start now thinking of yourself first, and not, as you said, having that cause you to have shame or feelings that it's not important or not worth it. It's certainly a journey, but that's how, to answer your question, Chris, that's how I got kicked off many years ago.
Well, and what's cool about all this is, as you guys share, it is the ability to pay attention, to think about it, to reflect. But it does start with just getting bothered. And that for me is the starting point, I think, to any change, any macro or micro vision. We get irritated when something doesn't match the reality that we want. And so we're like, and that takes us down, rather than being like,
right,
sweet, I'm bothered. Okay, because I'm bothered, I see a gap between where I am and where I could be, between what is and what could be, whether it's my personal development, whether it's my schedule, whether it's a small little granular thing. And that's when, there's a deeper lesson there too, what you do with when you're bothered. But at least at a simple level, I can say, start there. Start with where you're bothered, because that's that energy that's giving you that clue and that signal to, I want this to be different. Few things feel as great to me as putting out a product or a resource, whether it's a free video on YouTube, a podcast, a book, a course, because I know that's going to keep helping people over and over and over again, right? That's an amazing feeling. That's
where you and I differ, my friend. I love it. I think it's awesome. It reminds me of every other conversation you have had in the last month. It's awesome.
Tell me why. Connect the dots for me more.
Well, it's like, you like to create the content, and I'm this guy who's obsessed with not that you're not, but I'm obsessed with the connections, right?
Yeah.
I want to get people I want to meet those folks who want it. Then I'll go deliver it. But I'm driven by those connection points, and you're obsessive. You go into the cave to create that content, which is, I think, what makes us a good fit. It's great. Not that I don't create content. It's just that that thing that drives me and energizes me is, that connection, finding that thing that somebody wants and then going away and delivering it to them.
Booyah. And I used to enjoy the delivery as the main dominant thing.
Right.
And what shifted for me is like you enjoy creating some content. I enjoy some delivery, but I really love the content creation. And that's the yin yang. And so you pay attention to these things, you learn these things, you shift, you change, you grow.
Right.
Energy, baby. Non-manufactured, non-hype energy.
Right. And I think that's what Bret was talking about. This idea of, it goes back to this idea of knowing yourself, right? Just, what is it that turns you on? What gives you energy? And why deny yourself that? Build a life that allows you to get that as often as you possibly can. Why not?
Well, and the thing that people would say is, oh, this sounds selfish. No, at the heart of what's going to make you alive and a good human for others. So it's going to go into compassion to others as you do a mission, as you work, as you serve, as you relate.
Right.
You got something to give.
Yeah. It's not selfish. Like, the best thing I can give you is my best self, fully present, fully engaged, fully energized.
Right on.
Why would I not fill my cup up so much that it just overflows and now it's spilling out to you?
Right.
It's the best thing I have to offer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everything we do it for ourselves, but we do it to connect with others. I mean, none of us can exist as an island. So I think what we're doing is we're preparing ourselves for that connection, that fact of life that we have got to engage with other folks, and we can actually do things that serve others as well as serve ourselves. It's awesome. It's a great place to be.
You can't give what you don't have. And I remember hearing it applied to leadership years and years ago. And it just made so much sense for so many relationships that had been disappointing and so many relationships that have been frustrating. They couldn't give what they didn't have. And that's just a profound idea. And everything we're talking about, shifting this approach to learning what's in you, and how you build your life around who you are, then we all take the distinct paths we take. And the whole world's better for it. Now, not in an altruistic way that is divorced from reality. The sad truth, statistically speaking, most people are not going to take that path fully. They'll hint at it in little pieces. And we need more people to take those paths. Makes the world better.
Yes, sir.
I know, Jimmy, as we've talked about doing this show, my mind goes to a space your mind goes to. I know so well. What's our takeaway, man? Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about the trajectory of the conversation today, and I love the fact that it seems like we started thinking about energy, talking about energy, time, and money, and that really represented, I think, for me, an evolution in awareness, an evolution in thinking. And what's really interesting is it's something that all of us have been working on, but we still have to work on, right? Because the world around us is built on these constructs of money and time, and we have to live there and exist there, but we also have to elevate ourselves to live beyond those constructs. So I think that's where we started. Would you guys add anything to that?
I don't think so.
Don't tell me. Oh, geez. Okay, cool. And then it seems like, go ahead, Chris. Go for it, man.
I would just say what Bret said about comparison is this next piece that,
that's right.
Don't beat yourself up if you're comparing. Because that's what we do. We're hard on ourselves. If you're comparing, don't beat yourself up. Go, I'm comparing.
Right.
Just hug that idea. Like, I'm comparing. Okay, that means that I'm seeing a different way I'd like to do it. I'm
Right.
seeing how they did it. I can inspire myself. Just start with accepting that reality that you're comparing, not beating yourself up for it, and let
Right.
it lead you. I mean, there's a lot we could talk about, but let it lead you from there.
Yeah. And those constructs, money and time, are designed to engage the ego and get us, keep us in that comparison state, that uncomfortable, high pressure, high stress state. And we want to evolve out. And then I love where we ended up the conversation, which is in this idea of you can't give what you don't have. And imagine working on yourself to the point where you're connecting to the energy around you and developing the energy around you. And as you do that, you can only share that. You can only develop it and then give it to others and be a source of that kind of awareness and inspiration to others, which is, I think, where we all aspire to, given the things that we do, the three of us, given what we do every day. And that to me was a nice way to kind of round out the conversation, that it's not a selfish act to work on yourself. It's actually an act where you can be a catalyst for the change that you seek and that others seek in the world by kind of elevating your awareness.
Let's evolve out.
Yes, sir. Good stuff.
Yeah, this is awesome. Another week and a week ahead of us, so another week behind us. This has been Breaking Brains and Building Hearts with me, James Rories, Chris McAllister, Bret Burchard, right? Not
Burchard.
Bret.
I've evolved from my French
Burchard.
roots to Burchard.
I'm getting there, baby. I'm getting there.
It makes me
Awesome.
sophisticated, so it's good. Next time I won't wear the hat. I'll come dressed a little nicer, and I'll be a Burchard.
Wear what you would wear when you're hiking in the mountains, man. Come on.
All right.
Listen on that. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We're going to be here again live next week. Until then, take good care. All the best from the three of us.